I'm just back from a week away in London, and this video is going to be about what I saw and heard there, and we'll call it the good, the bad, and the ugly, because there was a mixture of things that I saw. So at the start of the week, I was in Croydon, and we stayed with a couple that I've known for 30 years. The guy I played football and cricket with, and it's very sad to see this guy now. He's got Alzheimer's, so he's not really able to talk. It's got that bad, and you know, of course, don't know for sure exactly what's caused this kind of rapid decline. It could be a whole mixture of things, you know, ranging from the experiment. He definitely took part in that. I didn't know how many doses he had of it. He's also been on statins, so you know, obviously those cholesterol reducing medications. Well, your brain's made of cholesterol. Let's just say that. And then you know, he's kind of eating. He's on a diabetic, so he's following the NHS's healthy eating advice. So he's eating a low fat, high carb diet. And well, you know, again, I'm not particularly surprised. It's not going to be great for you, is it? If you're, you know, you need something to keep your brain in good health, and that's animal fat and animal protein. So anyway, that was very, very sad to see somebody who's, well, basically they're not there anymore. They're there kind of physically, but kind of not. Very, very sad to see. Good things that I saw in Croydon. Quite a mixture of people there, but you know, like in places like Rochdale, you've got two competing groups. You know, you've one religious group and then a kind of like, I don't know, people like me. And there's a turf war going on. So Croydon, it's not like that at all, because you've got a multicultural situation that's different. You've got so many different people from so many different parts of the world that there isn't that same kind of binary power dynamic going on. So as far as I was concerned, that's a good thing, because the powers that shouldn't be have been trying to push this civil war narrative, getting people at each other's throats. And I certainly didn't see any evidence of that happening at all in Croydon. Seemed to be a pretty cool place, actually. People got on with things and seemed quite nice and friendly. Indeed, you know, when I was at East Croydon Station, there's a lot of the most friendly people that I encountered were people from different backgrounds. And a positive experience I had in Croydon was in a second-hand record shop, and I got talking to this guy called Mark, and it happened because we were looking in the same area of the record shop, and I sort of stated to him that this is almost like a last opportunity, because this record shop was closing down, like many of them are, because well, people have switched over to streaming, haven't they? And I just said to him, well, this digital ID that's coming in, I'm not going to be like signing in to use the internet with a digital ID. If that happens, well, then I stop using the internet. And yeah, he was right on board with it all. He'd been awake since 2001, you know, yeah, that one. And he'd not had the medical experiments, saw through all of that. He'd also, respect to him, his kids were quite old, in their late teens, early 20s, and they'd not had any of their childhood pokes in the arms and stuff. So very, 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 very nice chap. And I'm sure if I lived in Croydon, I would have become great mates with this bloke. Very, very switched on. So the serious point here is, I think for us, we need to start talking to people and making connections to people in the real world. And one way of doing that is just by striking up conversations with people. So that's what I'm doing now. We also agreed on one thing as well, which is one of the benefits of what's happened since 2020 is that you can now quickly find out what type of person is standing right in front of you. You know, in the past, it might have taken you years to figure out what somebody was about, you know, their personality, their values, and all of that. Since 2021, all you need to do is ask them one question, like, you know, did you have the experiment or did you reject it? And that will tell you everything that you might possibly want to know about somebody. Everything else is just, well, it's an irrelevance, isn't it? You know, what music you're into, I don't know, like, you know, which can you see what I'm getting at here? Is that all you need to now know is, or ask, is that one question? Did you have it? And then you'll have a fair measure of what you're dealing with, the person standing in front of you. So I really like that. It was quite interesting. Was on, I think it was on Friday morning, Saturday morning, something like that. I was walking through Croydon with my wife, and the whole place smelled of dope again. But you know, hey ho, that most of London smelt of dope, and not just like a little bit, like massively. So anyway, all the police were, there must have been about 10 of them, something like that, and they had a big van with cameras all over it, pointing at members of the general public walking up and down Croydon High Street, and they were doing like live facial recognition. So I'd seen this on YouTube, but I actually saw it with my own eyes. So there were all the police, you know, they weren't stopping people, you know, smoking like cannabis and stuff, but they were all like just watching the facial recognition cameras. So again, these days I'll just talk to anybody. So I like bowled straight up to one of these policemen and basically told him why this was a bad idea and how many false positives do you have. And of course, he then just gives me the answer that he's been told to memorize, which is, oh, we scanned, I don't know, 250,000 people, and there was only a false positive rate of, I don't know, 0.1%. So of course, then you can just say, well, look, that you're still talking about tens of people that have gone through the ringer on the basis of this kind of totally unacceptable form of authoritarianism. And then what I then did, I think this is really important with these people, is that you ask them what their name is, and then you hold your hand out and try and get them to shake your hand, so that they don't go into kind of defensive default mode of like, you must be a bad person because you're not with the narrative. Like, what I'm trying to get at here is that you try to show them that you are actually a human being rather than just an object that must be controlled and policed. So the other thing that I did, I found that was quite effective with him, is I asked him, have you got any children yourself? He didn't, but he had a fiance and whatever. I wished him all the best, which is 100% true. I do wish people like him all the best. But I said to him, look, think about what type of future you want to create or be part of for your kids. You haven't got any yet, but hopefully you will. Think about what type of future your behaviour now is going to create for your children in the future. And then I also said to him, a very, very important word that you should be using is no. No, I'm not doing that. And I said to him that that's where the problem arises, is that when people are too afraid to say no. So I said to him, look, please promise me that you will say no. So that was, and he listened. I think I got through to him. He actually listened. So that was very, very good. So we then moved on to Guilford, and so you know, the good, the bad, the ugly, right? So this was good. So I met up with two guys that again I played cricket with, different team, but played with them for about 5 years, so I knew them pretty well. Two brothers, wide awake. They were going seeing David Icke Protein like 15 years ago, a long time ago, and one of the brothers, Johnny, said something that kind of struck me, which was a way of coping, right? Which is basically not getting involved with NPCs, just staying well away from them. And then also he'd said to me this previously again, which I thought was a great way of summing things up, was that the people who complied, who took part in the experiment, they were weak, which is just true, you know. As I've said on my another video of mine in the past, you know, they failed the test of courage, morality, and intelligence, and yeah, they were just weak people. So that was good. I had a very pleasurable evening chatting to these two guys. They're wide awake. Another good thing that happened was that we, I think the last day we were there, we went down to Greenwich by boat. There was a tube strike on, so and we probably would have gone on that boat trip anyway, you know, like listen to some Cockney talk about the river and all of that. If you've not ever done that in London, it's absolutely superb. Anyway, on the way back, on the boat, I fancied a beer, so I went to the back of the boat where the bar was, and I got talking to this guy called Ray, because on the bar it said we only accept cash. So I asked him why, and of course the conversation heads in an inevitable direction of like, this bloke's wide awake, and he tells me that everybody else on this boat is wide awake, you know, the other crew members. And you know, he starts telling me all the dangers of programmable central bank digital currencies, and you know, why they're a danger. And of course, you know, I knew all about that, but you know, he was really well versed in all of these arguments. So this guy, I'm sure, is telling lots of people why it's important to keep on using cash. And yeah, that was a very, very positive sign. The other thing that I'd say is that I was last in London 4 years ago, and at that time I came across quite a lot of places that had stopped accepting cash, right? So this was the other way around. They only accepted cash, no card. And the first people that we stayed with in Croydon, the wife of this guy, Phil, she was like saying, oh, why are you taking cash out? Why are you taking cash out? You won't be able to spend it. Well, Helen, you were dead wrong, because I was able to use my cash every single place where I went in London. So there seems to be a trend going back towards cash as a payment method, and you need to get with the project. Start using cash. If you're not doing it, you know, you're not part of the trend. You know how normies, they like to be part of a trend, don't they? They like to be like doing what other people are doing, what other not. So like, yeah, get with the trend. Right, now the last thing is, we'll get on to the ugly. There was something that happened that was like truly ugly, and that's when we went down to Bramley. It's like a small village south of Guilford, to meet another couple that we kind of knew. And yeah, you know, at the time when we left, back in 2020, November 2020, I talked to these people about what was going on, you know, because that's why we left. I could see the writing on the wall. Anyway, you know, back then it was like the conspiracy theory line comes out, doesn't it? Whereas today you can't really use that line anymore, because many of the things that we were warning about have actually come true. But this guy, like in particular, this guy from Bramley, he was like some computer nerd or whatever, so probably quite a good memory, you know, kind of like can do well at exams and stuff, but like properly stupid. Like, so he kind of, and also the other thing that gets me about that part of the world is that the class system's like alive and well there. So people have got this social anxiety. They're anxious all the time and desperately trying to prove themselves and boast and brag and stuff about what car they drive, and you know, or in this guy's case, it was about his investments. And so he starts talking about his investments with his computer and everything, showing me it all. And it's kind of, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. So this guy, he's investing like these packaged products run by financial corporations. And he hasn't got a dicky bird at all about what he's investing in. Nothing. Knows nothing about the companies that he's investing in. All he's but he's like, and so I explained that to him, and he's saying, yeah, but like these experts, this is really great because these experts have said that this is this has got a 5-star rating, so it must be better than this one that's got a 3-star rating. And you try to explain to him that why do you trust these people with your money? Why are you investing in things that you don't understand and basing your decisions on the opinion of people who you're paying commission to? So he doesn't get it. It's like, yeah, but like, yeah, but like it's in their interest, isn't it, to treat their clients well? She then explained to him, well, like, what about the 2008 subprime mortgage crisis and the credit default swaps and all of that, where these same corporations are openly mocking their clients, calling them stupid, but he still trusts them. So say, of course, this guy, he went to the medical experiment like 4 times. Wow, like how stupid must you be to do that? But it's just this blind trust in authority still. So in the end, I kind of lose my temper with this bloke, because he's kind of he's just boasting. Sorry for the language there. He's just boasting, and he's boasting about his own stupidity. It's like the other thing I say to him is like, why would this corporation that you're dealing with, why would they even be interested in your repeat custom? Like once they've stolen your money, they've stolen it. They can't steal your money twice. It's just pathetic. So this guy, he'll have got his daughter like juiced up, absolutely appalling parent, in the sense of like overly protective helicopter parent. So he's created this Frankenstein's monster, which is basically his daughter, and then he's slagging his daughter off to me. It's like, you created it, mate. And then the other thing is, then he starts like trying to have a go. So basically, I just told him you got mugged off with the old experiment. You had 4 of them. You thought it was going to protect you from the, but after you had it, you had the thing that. And he starts talking to me about, I don't know how long I've got left, maybe 15 years. So these people, they know what they've done, but they still won't kind of fess up to it. They won't learn their lessons. They're just so hardwired into being a normie, which is just listening, repeating, and doing what they're told to do, and zero critical thinking, which really is intelligence. Yeah, if you gave him some simultaneous equations to do, he could kind of work through that like a dumb computer that he is. But there's no intelligence there, no critical thinking. So these people, they've just been taken out to the woodshed, just chop, chop, chop. So I think my advice when dealing with those sorts of people is, well, maybe the first bit of advice is John's advice. Keep your distance from them, because I'm not sure really whether you can get through to them. The only thing that you can do is just get right on the front foot with them, which is what I did, and just take the mickey out of them. So like I was giving him all the line, he was going, I only had it like, to protect my vulnerable wife or whatever, and I was like saying to him, like, act like you've got it. One of the symptoms is that there are no symptoms. A disease so deadly, you had to be tested to know whether you had it or not. Come on. We're not, and it's almost, at that time, I kind of started thinking, I don't know if I'm making this up myself or not, but wasn't there some sort of sci-fi program or film or whatever, like some sort of wizard or something with a stick, with a big kind of like glass ball on it, and he can kind of use the glass ball to project images onto the wall of Plato's cave. And this is what this guy's like. He kind of like believes his own imaginary world, you know, that this thing actually existed, you know, this Divot 91, you know, is it in the room with you now? It's just a complete fake fantasy world. He's looking at the shadows on the wall of Plato's cave, and he actually still thinks that they're true. He's trying desperately to convince himself that these things that are self-evidently fake are actually true. So what I'm saying here is that if you do come across those people, you can't placate them at all. What you've got to do is grab the staff off them, unscrew the glass prism or whatever, and throw it at the wall, smash it into millions of pieces to destroy their kind of fake reality and address it head on. Like, say to them, there was no, it didn't exist, right? And it's not credible for you to say that you had it to protect somebody else. It's not credible because of all the things that were said. Act like you've got it. One of the symptoms is that there aren't any symptoms. You know, a test so deadly, right? You need to be tested. A disease so deadly, you need to be tested to know whether you have it or not. Come on. I think the other thing as well you have to make clear to these people is that, tell them what they did, that you complied with biomedical fascism, that you destroyed the lives and livelihoods of millions of people through your actions, through your decision to comply. And you should be thinking about that. And yeah, I was extremely forceful with this guy, and of course he didn't like it. He started crying about it, but you know, basically it was his fault because he kind of raised the issue and he tried to take the piss. So as I said to him, like, if you want to have a go, you got to expect some stuff back. And like, he wasn't. He's just like a complete coward. The other thing, his other line as well that was quite funny was that, why are you having a go at me? Most people had it. And to that I said to him, well, most people went along with Adolf Hitler, didn't they? Didn't mean it was right. But this is again the narrative of the normie, the way the normie thinks, which is, if the majority of people are doing it, by definition, it must be the right thing to do. So yeah, that's all I want to say about my trip to England, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And also the other thing as well that I would say is to people, it's like, oh, you shouldn't be forthright. Well, I think you're wrong about that. You know, as a Christian, you're wrong about that. Jesus was certainly extremely forthright with people. And I think we have a moral obligation to not pull our punches and to tell the truth. So that's all I want to say today. So God bless.